This is the sweet sound of success with Sue Wilhite, Profit Attraction Master. Stephanie Thoma is a Forbes-featured leadership and life coach, certified hypnotherapist, and best-selling author of the transformational networking book, Confident Introvert. She has facilitated over 1,000 events and established a fulfilling career helping people generate meaningful connections with themselves and others that catapult them forward in their career and their life. To date, Stephanie has helped thousands of people celebrate their strengths, step into their authentic confidence, and make those meaningful connections. Welcome, Stephanie.
Hello, Sue. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm so thrilled that you're on. Thank you so much for joining me on the show. And for your sake and for the sake of my viewers, I'm just going to go over how the show works. So the subtitle of the show is The Hero's Journey for the Entrepreneur's Soul. And what we do is we're going to talk about your entrepreneurial journey as your ordinary beginning, which to this day and many, many podcasts later still makes me laugh about entrepreneurs having ordinary beginnings. Your call to action, what prompted you to become an entrepreneur, and sometimes those get a little fuzzy with the ordinary beginning. And then the big hairy monsters that you got to confront and play with. And then the really important part that a lot of people don't seem to realize as part of the entrepreneur's journey is your allies, mentors, guides. You know, who was your Gandalf? Who was your Dumbledore? Who was the one who sort of guided you, led you? And it could be multiple people. It could be one person who really lit the fire and got you going. But I think that for entrepreneurs to understand that you don't go it alone is really, really important. And finally, one of the other interesting parts of the entrepreneur's journey, as with any mythical character, is that when you return home, as it were, how do people react? Is it, when are you going to get a real job? Or is it, hey, you've done it. This is great. We've had all ranges of entrepreneurial homecomings, as it were. And I'd love to hear yours, Stephanie. So, Stephanie, what was your ordinary beginning?
Yes. Okay. So, through a career perspective, I began my career taking on a variety of internships, not really knowing what I wanted to do. So, let's see, I attended college and studied sociology, the study of people, and took on a variety of internships and pretty much had the goal of rising the corporate ladder, rising the ranks. And I thought that work had to feel like work, and I was ready and willing to work hard. And yeah, I'd say that my beginnings from a career context were, okay, let's plug myself into this existing system.
Right. The cog in the machine.
You could say.
Yeah. And so what was your call to action? What made the cog break, so to speak? What was it that jettisoned you from that climbing the corporate ladder, plugging into that little structure? What did you discover that made you different?
Yes. Okay. So through being in corporate America, I noticed a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of office politics, and I didn't really understand, okay, why aren't we having direct communication? Why are we not focused on the work? There were just some things that I found confusing and a little bit disorienting.
Right.
And yes, like office gossip, for example, I had no interest in participating in that. And yeah, I tended to, let's say, if there was a boss or a superior, I tend and I still think in this way very much so, where I don't tend to think of myself as subordinate or dominant with other people professionally. I think, okay, we're all humans and we all have inherent value. And in my 9-to-5 working experiences, that was not always accepted or embraced.
Right.
So I remember being asked, so you've made a declarative statement that this needs to be done by this time in this state. Is it possible for, you to collaborate with me in this way, when you should have framed it as a question? And I would ask, so to be less sure, but I don't feel unsure. Right. But that would have been a way to show more respect. So yeah, I'd say that I learned fairly quickly. I observed a lot in my first internships and first job. And it became clear that in order to fit into that existing system, I had to compromise too much of who I was, and I wasn't willing to do that.
Now, there is a quote that you need to hang on the wall, right? That should be a post everywhere.
Life is really full of those junctures where there is a choice to make. Do I choose to fit in, or do I choose to be my authentic self, even if it's not broadly embraced?
Right. Exactly.
And that actually, it feels so much better to be embraced for what you truly are. So even if there is that moment of loneliness, or those several moments of extended loneliness where you don't know what's on the other side, for me, it's been about coming back to myself and choosing myself. And whenever I do that, I have so much more to give than I did when there was any sort of compromise with personal integrity or the way that I show up and want to show up, closing that gap.
Right. When you stuff yourself, or a good piece of yourself, into a box or into a bottle, as some people do with that kind of compromise, then less of you gets to show up. And so you can't be as effective, you can't be as useful, you can't do what you're here on the planet to do. Absolutely. So what happened?
All right. Okay. So this is something, oh my goodness, let me preface this by saying that I, at one point in time, felt a lot of shame about being fired. And anyone listening to this, if you've been fired, if you feel like you might get fired, just know you are not alone. People don't talk about this enough. But sometimes, even if you know deep down in your heart that something's not right for you, let's say that you do amazing work, but for some reason, it's not really jiving, maybe with your boss, for example. Maybe you're not meant to have a boss. So it took me a while to understand that, through this one instance in particular, where it was, this one particular instance where I decided that, okay, I'm not going back to this system. So my journey was doing the 9-to-5 thing and getting to a point where I knew how to play the game, but I didn't want to play it in that way. And so I began to freelance before I established my own business, my own company. And I also began career coaching because, albeit if I knew exactly what to do and I could guide others through, okay, here's how to get your foot in the door. Here's how to perfect your resume. Here's how to present yourself online, and all of these pieces that are useful, whether you're an entrepreneur or climbing the corporate ladder, really. And it became my mission fairly quickly to rid myself of internalizing the fallacy that work cannot be fun or enjoyable.
Right? Isn't that the biggest myth?
It truly is. I'm having a lot of fun now. It wasn't always that way. But once I made that choice and was convicted, and okay, whatever I do now will be fun and or meaningful, ideally both. And ever since then, I've taken on a variety of projects before founding my business that were actually really fun. So being a ghostwriter for celebrity blogs, being a nightlife market researcher, and just jobs that were creative, that other people made up. And then I realized, wait, I can make up a job too. Why do I need someone else to make it up for me?
Right. Yes, absolutely. And that's the nature of an entrepreneur, right? Is we made up our own jobs
Mm-hmm.
and our own job descriptions, and we go out and do what we love to do because it's
Right.
fun.
Exactly. So you make up the job description, you make up the activities, and then you produce real tangible value. And that's how it all flows.
Yes, exactly. And sometimes there are things that are not quite so fun. And you alluded to one of them, which is, the loneliness of, here I am, I've been fired or laid off. Um, one of the entrepreneurs I've interviewed on this show was laid off 8 times
Mm.
before she got the clue that she needed to be an entrepreneur. Um, but those times are really lonely and they're really hard until you get to the other side of them. What were some of the other big hairy monsters that you got to play with?
Let's see. So, yeah, I mean, expanding upon the whole experience of being let go, I have always been someone that's taken a lot of pride in my work. And at least in, let's say, your traditional American work culture, there's this idea that, oh, this is your family outside of your family.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's really not the case, but even though it can feel like it at times, so then you feel like, oh my goodness, I've been disowned by my family.
Right,
Like, and it
right.
feels personal. And then, at least for me, what I realized, and actually what my clients have realized as well, is okay, I've been placing my self-worth within this position. And whenever I introduce myself, I've been saying my title and this company's name. And now I don't have that anymore. Who am I? What do I stand for? I've been trying to fit in to something that someone else created for, X number of years. And it can be a really scary, lonely place to not have an answer to the question, what do you do? And
Mm-hmm.
to, you could say you could build it from scratch, but I really do believe that we oftentimes have the answers and we have had the answers, but they've perhaps been stifled until we reach pivotal moments like those.
Right, exactly, exactly. Yeah, that's a key thing is people put their identity in their corporate title. And and I've done that, in my career, being able to say what my title was and who I worked for, and that was a really big thing. And now it's like, no, how many people have I helped? That's a much more worthwhile title.
Right. And other hairy monsters. So there's that self-identity piece that perhaps has been outsourced for a time, and then confidence.
Right.
And relying on feedback from, let's say, every quarter or however often you would get feedback. Okay, how am I doing? I don't know how I'm doing. I need to hear from someone else how
Right.
it's going. And to have, yeah. So basically, let's see. Yeah, for me, I know I went through a period of, and of course, sometimes a lot hits at once. So at this particular time that I'm referencing, I also was in the process of making a move into a new apartment in San Francisco. And San Francisco at that point in time was the most expensive city in America. And I didn't have an income. And there was this question mark where, okay, it's the exact same week that I don't have a job and I don't have a home. So do I want to, let's say, do the logical thing and move in with a friend or family member while I get back on my feet? And something in me did not view that as an option. So I ended up setting myself up to not necessarily continue on the same path, but continue with an upward momentum. I didn't allow myself to have a huge safety net. So, this isn't to say that I didn't feel depressed and stay in bed, sleep a few days away. But within a couple of weeks, I researched different part-time job opportunities where I could dip my toes into different projects that seemed interesting and fun. And actually the very first project that I got was about 2 weeks later. And that was the nightlife market research project where, oh my goodness, I went to nightclubs and it's like, so this is a job from a university, a research university.
Wow.
And I interviewed 21 to 27-year-old male hipsters on their drug and alcohol use. So
Wow.
it was having conversations, you know?
Right. Right. Wow. Wow.
And that was the first of many interesting projects. You know, from there, it only got increasingly just more fun, more interesting, and more meaningful as well.
Right. Right. So who were some of your allies? You know, you were experiencing and playing with these big hairy monsters. Who were some of the allies and mentors and guides that helped you through this?
A few people come to mind. So community has always been really important to me in terms of cultivating a sense of community that feels authentic and that feels like deeper than just people that you say hi to at a party. So one of the things, my neighbors. Oh. So the place that I had moved to, I had neighbors as friends, and just even them kind of checking in with me and being in such a close proximity was pivotal in having a reason to get out of bed for those first couple of weeks, for example, even if they didn't know all the details of what had happened. Those who were in a close physical proximity knew, she's probably not doing that great right now. So it can be helpful to have that element of support. And another person who has always believed in me through hardships at this stage of life and previous periods and future periods has been my Aunt Jenny, a total advocate and supporter of me, even when things get hard and don't have a clear light at the end of the tunnel. So, you know, I'm sure there are more characters, there always are, but those are the ones that stand out to me most right now.
Nice. Hey, everybody should have an Aunt Jenny in their corner.
Yes.
You know, somebody to cheerlead, somebody to talk things through. That is just the most valuable kind of ally that you can have in many ways. So was there anybody who sort of said, goodness gracious, Stephanie, what in the world are you doing? You know, how are you doing this? Why are you striking out on your own? Don't you want to go back to a corporate life? When are you going to get a real job? Was there any of that? Joseph Campbell talks about this in terms of that whole, you know, once the hero has gone out and had the adventures, they're not the same anymore. They've dealt with things that people back in the village or in the apartment building or the Muggles just have no clue how to be or react or the experiences. And so they try to put you back into the same old box, right?
Yeah.
So how do you deal with that?
Yeah. So, okay. When it comes to, I mean, there's so many different names, haters, naysayers, whatever it is. So yeah, there was some of that for sure. I know that even some well-meaning friends thought, oh, this is a phase. Oh, that's cute. You're doing these projects here and there. And yeah, let us know when you're ready. We can refer you to this company. We can do this for, you know, to help you get your foot back in the door of a real job. Yeah. So there certainly was that. And then also, yeah, well-intentioned concern about this whole idea of is this sustainable? Can you be successful in this way? Because up until this point, I had experienced an element of success, right? Some coveted internships that not everyone had access to or got when they applied for it, right? So there was this idea of uncertainty that I was navigating. And what I learned fairly quickly was, again, this element of community, and to not necessarily have a community around you that are pure yes people that say, oh, whatever you're doing is perfect, but people who are either on their way or actively living a type of life that you would like to live.
Yes.
So yeah, for me, that was going to women's circles, getting plugged into more spiritual communities. and understanding the deeper divine purpose in work and in contribution in life. And also, yes, gosh, yeah, when I was in San Francisco, I was on the board of the Young Professionals of San Francisco, a networking event that I really enjoyed. Just a lot of diverse people from different backgrounds in terms of what they did for work would come together. So I attended those for years and then applied, rejected 1 year, then the next year that I applied, then they welcomed me on the board. So yeah, just kind of taking a bet on myself and not letting one no or one rejection be the end answer.
Right.
To prove what I wanted by deciding, okay, this is a no is a not right now. Plain and simple. If I knew that I wanted something and there was alignment, it's like, oh, just I have this trust and this patience that it's going to be, and I can hold the intention and let it go because it will come back.
Right. Yeah. No, sometimes means no, but most of the time it means not right now. Let's not play that game right now.
Well, yes, that reminds me of the Abraham Hicks quote of it's either this or something better.
Yes.
So
yes.
I'll invite that.
Exactly.
I'll gladly let something go if another better thing is on its way.
Right. It's like, oh, okay. And sometimes, pardon me, sometimes the act of asking puts you in touch with something else and you don't know what that is. I saw a Steve Jobs quote recently that said something about, your life is a series of connected dots, but it's only toward the end or after something has happened that you can look back and see the dots.
Yes, I love that. And yeah, just even for anyone listening who has had a string of random odd jobs, I know I for sure I have that. I have a list of the most random, weird, fun, cool jobs that didn't make sense at the time, but guess what? They encompassed elements of market research, business development, writing, and all of these things that I needed to be a business owner.
Right.
I'm using all those things now, but even though, and you can only connect the dots looking backwards.
Right.
And you can try to, people do try. I know it's nice to tell ourselves that, oh, I'm certain this is my 5-year plan and I'm going to do this for this amount of time. Then I'm going to do that, then that. But you know what? Isn't that kind of boring? It's nice to have those goals, but be open to, wait, if something better comes along, I don't want to have blinders on. I want to be open to that.
Right. As they used to say in the Bugs Bunny commercial, you can take that left turn at Albuquerque. Go off in a completely different direction. And you never know. You never know. Yeah, it's great to make a 5-year plan. I tell my coaching clients, let's make a plan with what we know right now. But this is not something that we're carving in stone. We're not super gluing it to our forehead. This is something that this is where we think our trajectory is. And sometimes an opportunity might come in and we see where it fits into what we think is right at that time.
Yeah. And
move forward from that.
And so many studies show, I'm sure you're aware of this, that writing our goals down makes them so much more likely to happen. So if you're going to write down that 5-year plan, just put the biggest audacious goals that you can.
Yes.
And then if it's even better than that, hey, invite it. There's just so much power in intention setting paired with openness.
Right. There's a lovely cartoon that a friend of mine who's a PhD in physics had made into a t-shirt. And I've always thought that it was a really good, forget the physics part of it, but I always thought that it was a really good sort of life philosophy. And it's two scientists standing in front of one of those giant, college blackboards, that takes up most of the panel. And it's got equations, and weird characters and all these mathematical symbols. And then in the middle, there's a break, and then it goes on. And in the break, it says, and then a miracle occurs. It goes all the way down. It's like, but that's the way life is. All of these things that we've figured out, and then a miracle happens, and then we go on.
I love that.
Surprise question. What is the favorite part for you of what it is that you do now?
Oh my goodness. So I love so much of what I do, which is why I'm doing it. And if I were to pinpoint, gosh, my favorite part, I love the creation phase. So right now, my primary focus is my work with one-on-one clients and getting to help connect those dots backwards and forwards is so gratifying to be able to say, wait, so this is a concept from my book. It's called Your Big Light Secret. So this is from Confident Introvert. And it's this idea that sometimes what we tell ourselves is a weakness is actually our greatest strength in disguise. Not always, but sometimes if we look at something from a different angle, we realize that it's a true gift. So, so an example of this in the book is I always thought growing up, oh, I'm not a good dancer. You know, it started probably from being in ballet as a toddler and not having the patience for it, getting kicked out of ballet. It started early. It didn't just start with that job. So, so basically, I thought, oh, I'm not a dancer. I'm a singer-songwriter. But, and I thought I can't be in true integrity and be good at both, because these pop stars that I see doing both, are they really good at both, or they're really just good at one? So I thought I had to stay true to that. And then it wasn't until I started to get involved in ecstatic dance and meditation movement where there wasn't choreography.
Yes. No, you can't.
Exactly. Where I was able to shine and do well in that type of movement.
Right.
So I'd say, to go back to your question, my favorite part is getting to a place of seeing those light bulb moments go off.
Right. Cool. Well, so Stephanie, how do people get a hold of you?
Okay, so if you'd like to get in touch with me, one of the best ways, if you're interested in working together, so what I do is I work with my clients on uncovering subconscious roadblocks and beliefs and lessening anxiety through holistic, proven methods to then unleash an authentic sense of confidence and enable people to connect with other people from that place of being, calm, cool, and collected, relaxed, confident. And then from there, you're able to rise into your authentic leadership potential. So if that is interesting to you, then the next step will be to go to stephaniethoma.com/coaching to apply for a one-on-one call.
Cool. Wonderful. And we will have that. That should be appearing on the bottom of the screen. And we will have that in the show notes as well. And I'm assuming that you are also on social media.
Yes. So I am the most active currently on Facebook and Instagram. So my Instagram handle is Stephanie M. Thoma. And then if you look up Stephanie Thoma leadership and life coach, then I'll pop up on Facebook.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Stephanie, for being on the show. Your life journey is really amazing. I've had so much fun talking to you, and I want to thank you and thank my listeners on the sweet sound of success. are your dreams for your business? You know what drives me crazy? Really smart business owners denying their talents because they've been taught it has to be hard, because they've been taught that they don't deserve their gifts, that they're not worth anything. They've been taught that their gender means they can't express their genius. I'm Sue Wilhite, and I want you to have access to your genius. I want you to go out and rock the world with your genius. So I created the Call to Action coaching program. It's all about getting to the heart of you and what you've got to share with the world to make a profitable business that thrives and allows you to make a difference in the world. Click the link to sign up for the Call to Action coaching program today. Don't let your genius go unnoticed.